At my very first bodybuilding show, circa 2018, Denver, Colorado, I was so buzzed. Action!
This is why I love podcasting, because you can just be yourself.
Thank goodness I'm not good at being anybody else.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Tristan.
And this is the TMI podcast.
When I went on stage for finals, I come around in I have a video of it somewhere. I come around in my posing though, and I'm like, I was like, I felt it. I remember taking that turn and my nose went numb and my ears got hot and I was like, uh-oh. And I'm like 23. There's a story to that though, okay? Like I didn't just get drunk to get on stage.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I had a coach. I hired her for $100 a month. And I was like, okay, granted, I'd never had a coach before, and spending $100 a month on a coach, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that was very cheap coaching, and I got exactly what I paid for. She ghosted me on show day. It is my very first show. She's obviously not there, and she was going through some personal stuff, I think, with her boyfriend or whatever, and just didn't pick up her phone that day. And so I was watching the other athletes backstage and saying like, what are you guys doing? And they were drinking bottles of Cabernet, like those little bottles, and shots of vodka. And I did not drink at all through my prep, and probably for a good amount of time leading into it. I just wasn't a big drinker at that age. And I went up to the girls and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, this is what pulls the water out. And I hadn't had water in like 3 days. And I was like, okay, yeah, like, should I do that? And they're like, oh, definitely. So one girl gave me a shot of vodka, and then one girl's like, oh, drink this really quick. And it was like half of one of those little bottles of Cab. And then I was getting ready to go back on, and I looked nervous, I guess. And the girl's like, here, do one more of these, and hands me another shot of vodka.
Oh, my God.
And then I get pushed on stage. And I wanted to giggle, throw up, and run away all at the same time.
Your nerves, like, you're so mean.
Even my nerves were drunk. They didn't know what to do. And I just remember getting off stage and I'm like, oh my God. And the thing is, like, I was so dehydrated and lean at the time that, like, everything just flushed through me. And I felt like I got buzzed, drunk, hungover in, like, the matter of 30 minutes. It was crazy. And then after that show, I didn't know what a reverse diet was. And again, my coach still had not responded to me. And so I just started eating like normal. And it was like 6 days post-show, I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. And the skin on my stomach felt like it was like, you know when your skin gets really dry and you can feel it cracking? Mm-hmm. That's how my stomach felt. It was crazy. So I go to the hospital. My coach was a nurse. It's just such a crazy situation. And, you know, moving forward from that, I've always used that as my premise of, like, know how to pick your coach.
Was your coach your nurse when you went to the hospital?
Okay, so she wasn't my direct nurse, but there was eye contact made.
Is crazy.
And then, so I had borrowed one of her suits for that show. So after she saw me in there, I get the text like, hey, can I get my suit back?
That's all she cares about. Your athlete is in the hospital. And it's, hey, can I get my suit back?
Dude, it was an experience. I didn't think that I was going to stick with bodybuilding after that. But a friend of mine talked me into going with her coach. And I'm going to choose not to name drop because I'm going to tell the story. And our coach and said friend did some things that they shouldn't have done. And I have a very high moral compass, and so I had to step away from that coach. And then at that point, I was like, I have no luck with coaches. And so I decided to self-coach my very first figure show. I'd done 3 bikini shows, second and fourth. Those were my placings, 2 classes at each show. And then my very first figure show, I did not place at all. And it was such a blow. I turned the wrong way on stage. I had no idea how to pose. My mom was yelling at me from the audience. You know how embarrassing that is? And 2 of the judges are people that I just admire so much. Shout out Dan and Esther. They owned the gym I very first started in Kalispell, Montana, and they were judging the show. And I was like, oh my gosh, Access Fitness people are here. I have to do so good. And I got dead last. Oh. And I was like, I can never show my face again. And that was 2019. And so I kind of just quit. I thought I was done after that. I stayed training equally as hard as I had. I stayed on regiment with my nutrition because it felt good. That's where I'd been. And so I took the rest of 2019 off. And then 2020, COVID hit. And I had gotten together with Joe, and he started talking to me. He's like, why aren't you competing anymore? Like, you were good at this. And I was like, I didn't really do good at that last show. He's like, you didn't have a coach. Mm-hmm. You didn't know that you'd never been in that category. So he's like, why don't you pick a coach with experience and try again? And so I did and got my first overall. And, you know, I tried another coach after that. Let me be clear, coach hopping is not a great idea. It's not the best thing in the world to do. But if you are working with a coach who does not line up with your standards of health, moral compass, or other personal reasons that matter, then listen to yourself. Mm-hmm. Listen to yourself. And so I worked with another coach after that, and he was great, but my health started declining, and the answers that I got to that weren't so great, so I decided just to take some time off and focus on my health. And that was probably the best decision I made after getting my pro card. And now coming back in with completely optimized biomarkers and everything on point, like this is going to be the better season that I've ever had. But it definitely was filtering through coaches. I think every coach I've worked with has been just that much better than the last. Mm. And that's kind of my rule is if I'm going to switch coaches, if I'm going to look for somebody, they have to have something that I need. They need to be better than my last coach in some way. And I don't like sounding like a jerk when I say that, but it's either education, communication, support, whatever the area that I'm looking for is what I'm going to hone in on.
Finding a coach that is the right fit for you is so real. I can't stress it enough how important it is to actually find a coach that works for you. I had a coach. After I recovered from my eating disorder, I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
Can I pause you?
Yes.
I'm going to teach you something so powerful. Everybody needs to listen to this. It is not your eating disorder. You didn't choose it. It's the eating disorder. I don't say my cancer. I say the cancer. I don't claim that, and you shouldn't either.
All right. So after the eating disorder that I had, I wanted a coach to do it right this time. Hired a coach. She starved me. And the thing that she said, she gave me a meal plan with just, here's what to measure. No calories, no macros, like just, you're eating this for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And she goes, don't put it into MyFitnessPal, just trust me.
Oh, I hate that. So many coaches. I had a coach that did that. Would not tell me my calories, so I plugged them in one day. I was like, you're trying to hurt me.
Yep. That's exactly what I did.
I should have laughed at that.
And it was like under 1,200 calories. After the eating disorder, after I expressed, we have to take this slow, I was just starved. And shout out to my next coach. He was a pro bodybuilder at 17, all natural. Shout out Vic.
Hey,
still
good job,
to this
Vic.
day. A good friend of mine, but he took me under his wing and showed me the right way. But he was great. I ended up not competing with him, but he helped me move the needle. And then I picked a coach that was a woman that was more, when I was looking at it, focused on bikini. Mm-hmm. And so then I ended up getting a different coach, really had a good experience. But the polar opposites of a bad coach and a good coach is crazy.
So in this coach journey, when did you get to me?
When you stumbled into my life.
That was such a cool experience. Like, it's not often that I walk up to somebody, I'm like, you need to let me coach you. And I remember looking at him like, you need to let me coach you. Like, we could do some cool stuff. And I will say, like, getting the opportunity to work with you has been so cool because there's been times, like, we've got you eating and you're like, I'm hungry. Can we raise my intake? My body is accepting this. And that's such a big deal. Like, I could pull up those messages, and I'm like, I love that, because knowing where you come from and knowing you've walked through this crazy journey of coaches as well, both in peaks and valleys, for you to be able to sit here and be like, my body's accepting this food as it should. Everything's going optimally. Can we raise my intake? That's a big deal.
At one point, I was at 3,300, and I didn't gain a pound.
Yeah, I pushed you up to the high 2000s.
Yeah, we were like 28, 29.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's crazy because, like, having these conversations, I'm like, do I want to bodybuild? Do I want to get back into it?
Does it make you tingle?
I'm like,
To be clear, Michelle is currently in her hybrid functional training phase of life. It's her era. We love it.
I do some high rocks racing. I've done it, and I don't know. I go back and forth between bodybuilding, being functional. To be honest, I'm a girl who doesn't know what she wants.
I want to be good at everything. That's what I want.
Pretty much.
If I decide I want to do pull-ups, I want to be the best person doing pull-ups that day. If I decide that I'm going to do CrossFit, guys, I'm not the best, but I try.
Circling back, though, to coaching. So now, Tristan, if I was a beginner and just starting out, how would I find a coach? What questions would I ask? How do I look for one? What do you suggest?
People forget when they are looking for the coach that they are hiring. They're the boss. And when you are looking for a coach, you need to first sit with yourself and use ChatGPT if you need to. I don't care. Ask it, what is a good list of questions for me to ask a potential coach? And then read through those, and it'll probably trigger something, and you'll start saying, oh, this is important to me. Do you communicate only by email, or do you do calls, or do you use a training app, or do you use Google Sheets or Word documents? I personally love apps. I like being able to store all my stuff in one place. Email check-ins are a lot for me, but I've done them many times with many coaches. So it's really like you have to decide what you want before you hire a coach, or else that coach is going to decide for you. And then you're going to end up with a coach that doesn't really correlate with the things that you want. You guys aren't cohesive. So that's what I always tell people, particularly when they come to me. And they're acting like I'm interviewing them. I'm like, no, listen, Linda, like, you need to interview me. You need to make sure I'm a good fit for you, because I'm going to be bossy and I'm going to be forward. And I'm also going to be your biggest cheerleader, your number one supporter. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to get to know your kids. I'm going to get to know your partner. I'm going to get to know a lot about you. You need to be okay with me being that person. So get to know me. Ask me the things that matter. Am I nosy? Absolutely. Am I bossy? Absolutely. Can you handle that? I can tell you can. But it's like, I think that our job as coaches is not to build our rosters super full. Our job as coaches is to find the people that we can work with where we're going to make a change and where we're going to affect and matter. And so if you don't jive with somebody and you're working together and you are not positively impacting their experience or making those changes with them and guiding them through those, you are not the right coach and you're wasting their time. And maybe in this great big world, you might know other coaches who might work with them. And so I've had people come on with me and it's just, we don't vibe, and it's nothing against them. Like, you're not going to vibe with everybody in the world. But what I do is I have such an extensive list of friends who are coaches, who I respect their education, I respect their communication and their approach with athletes. And it's been, I don't think a single time has an athlete come to me, and if they don't jive with me, I have connected them with other potentials, and I see them go on and work with them, and I'm super grateful, because again, our job, if we choose to fill this role, is to make positive change. If we're not effectively doing that, we need to get out of the way so somebody else can. And that's firm to me.
100%. And what you say about when you're looking for a coach, you are the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
You 1,000% you are the interviewer. And it's so important to find someone that works well with you. But I will say, most coaches, if you inquire about them, they're gonna put on a really good front. But that's where the deeper questions come in, because everyone is nice. Everyone would love your business. Not to say, like, money is great, right? We all want to work with people, make money, but when those deeper questions get answered, that's where you have your answer.
Are you a quality trainer or are you a quantity trainer? And if you really... When I started training, I trained my first 5 people for free. Not because I didn't think I could do it, but because I didn't expect people to come pay me for something I hadn't proven myself in. And so I worked with those people. We made great progress. I shared that progress. I set my starting price at $100 like my first coach did. I was not coaching bodybuilders in the beginning, just lifestyle. And so, I started picking up clients that way. And after some time, whenever somebody comes in with me, they are grandfathered at their price. But I would raise my price, and so new people coming in would meet me at that price. And it felt really good for people not to bat their eyes when I would say my cost of training. And they're just like, oh my gosh, that's great, let's do this. And I'm like, wow, okay. And I mean, at my lower rates, it got to a point where I was building up too many clients. And I had to start respecting my education a little bit more and the foundation of where I was coming from. And so I raised my price to a realistic expectation. And then I made a more affordable option with less one-on-one direct for people who are just looking for programming, nutrition, but not so much accountability. Mm-hmm. So that really kind of opened it up and gave me so much more capacity to dial in with those people looking for accountability. And it also gave me room to really connect with my people. And I think that's a big thing. And I've worked with both kinds of coaches who are more interpersonal and coaches who are just coaches. What I have learned is I really like interpersonal connection. I really like trusting my coach. I like when my coach, even if we're not the friends who go hang out, like, when your coach is your friend. And I like my coach to be my friend. I like my coach to know that my coach is standing in my corner believing in me because I'm going to put everything that I have into this. And if I don't feel that, if I feel like our email communication is very disingenuous, I'm out. And that's where, I have to pay attention when I interview coaches. What does our communication look like? And a lot of coaches will take anybody. They'll just take anybody. Mm-hmm. And that's where that boundary is for me. Like, I can't take anybody. And that's why I do require, if somebody wants to work with me, let's consult together. Totally free. Like, I just want to chat with you 15, 20 minutes on a video call. Let me know if I'm really a good fit for you. Like, I know you came to me, and I know you've seen, obviously, like my media or some of my other clients' progress, and that's awesome. I love that you love that, but let's make sure that you also enjoy me, and let's make sure that we can jive.
When I was running like my own business with clients, I would not take anyone unless we hopped on a call, because I need to know that you vibe with me, you like what I offer, and you're asking me questions. I know you're interested. So one thing, when I'm looking for a coach, the biggest thing for me is nutrition, 100%. So I am very detailed. Okay, how do you give your nutrition plan? What does that look like?
I remember you asked me these questions.
And am I able to tell you what is happening and you're going to listen to me and you're not going to just brush me off?
And I said, yes, please.
But stand your ground when I think maybe we need to do this, but that's probably not the best. Stand your ground, but let me express, like, hey, I'm feeling this way.
I love that you bring that up because we had that moment.
Yeah.
We did, and we talked about it, and that's what I really loved. And I think that, our background in basically our coffee shop time was getting to know each other, interviewing each other on those deeper topics and conversations. And so when it came time to have the conversation that we did, it was very much like, Michelle, I hear you. I see where you're coming from, and I can totally understand why your perspective is there. Do you have the capacity to hear me out? And you let me lay out where I was coming from. And you're like, actually, that makes sense. Let's keep trying this for a little bit. And if it works, I'm going to be super stoked. If it doesn't, we're going to make some changes. And I think, for you and an athlete like you, and there are going to be many athletes with some of the very similar topics that they want to hone in on, having the freedom and the space to be able to talk about those things and bring up those topics without feeling embarrassment or shame or like you're doing something wrong is really important. If I didn't leave my door open for my people to come tell me if something wasn't going the way that it should be, I wouldn't be an effective coach because I wouldn't be able to meet you where you're at because I don't know where you are.
I remember I changed an exercise without Tristan knowing. She's like, we don't do that here. And I was like, I know, but my back, it hurts my back.
And so I said, what? Send me a video.
And then after I realized I've been doing that for so long because I've had coaches where I've expressed, hey, this exercise has hurt me, and they don't care. They don't change it. They don't do anything. So me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to just change it on my own.
You're going to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's the world that you've been introduced to.
And Tristan is the first coach that was like, no, we're not doing that here. You're letting me know we're figuring it out. If we can make that exercise work with your back, we will. And if not, we can switch it out. But there are so many coaches going back to quantity over quality that they just might have not had time for my needs. And that's okay. But that's not what I wanted.
I mean, it's okay to an extent, but it's not. That's their job. And most people get fired when they don't do their job. So...
True.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, back to what you were saying, though, I have a lot of athletes. That is a very common thing, and that conversation has to happen frequently. And it's so funny because I am very, so quick to have that conversation now because I've had it so many times. But that fear is so real, and I respect it. Because I, again, have had coaches like that as well, where you bring up a legitimate concern and it feels like it's kind of swept under the rug. For me... No, for everybody, no two bodies are the same. And everybody's like, hey, there is one form for squats. Hey, there is one form for deadlifts. Hey, there is one form for whatever, right? Okay, so my hips can't be set differently than yours. I can't have externally rotated hips. I can't be different and change my form so that I am still getting the same quality from this movement that you are. That's crazy to me. And so I constantly, when my athletes or my clients are in that position, they're like, hey, I can't do this. Prove it. Send me a video. I don't care if you fall. I don't care if you mess up. If you can only do a quarter of the movement, send me that so that I can visually see what's going on, where your form is at. And if I can make changes, 99.9% of the time I can. And if I cannot, then by seeing the way that you're moving, I'm going to be able to digress us to a movement that's going to support the progress we're trying to make. So say if somebody can't do a squat, and I believe that everybody should be able to so long as they don't have an injury in the way, but they can't, okay, cool, that's fine. Let's go over here. I'm going to have you do some bench stuff. I'm going to have you do some dumbbell stuff, some machine stuff to keep your body in line. And we're going to, without telling you, I'm going to progress you into being able to do those squats.
And a lot of the time, too, it's figuring out where everyone is weak in. Like, what muscles are weak that aren't allowing us to do a squat? If there's no injuries or
and check-in photos do a great deal, but when it comes to movements, those videos,
they do
for me
numbers.
as a coach, it's I get excited when I get to help with things like that.
I will say, if you are looking for a coach, my personal opinion, stay away from anyone that says, in 30 days, we can get you to drop 10 pounds.
Well, my favorite one I saw recently was like, fat to fit in 45. And I was like...
Yeah, anyone that is promising you a certain amount of days, please just stay away from. And it's all over social media. I get there's 30-day challenges, but if they're promising you a certain result in 30 days.
How fun would it be to, like a call show, let's interview those coaches? How can you prove this?
Without starving them.
It's so
because
crazy.
Everyone is so different. There's no cookie cutter plan. I don't care what you say. Cookie cutter plans are a big no because everyone is so different.
See, in the beginning, there's a lot of beginner cookie cutter plans. And the thing is, if you're a pretty sedentary person, it doesn't matter what workout program you go on, you're going to make progress. So, in that sense, I'm kind of you, okay. But there's more than working out that contributes to this. The gym is just a small piece of this. We hear the quotes all the time. You can't out-train a bad diet. That wasn't said because it's not true. And so, again, like having that coach that's covering those areas, and yeah, you know, maybe the workouts are a little more simple in the beginning, but they're really focusing on your nutrition, or they're focusing on your lifestyle habits. But as you become a more advanced individual, or you have unique things about your body, or you're making really steady progress, as a coach, are you supplementing the correct movements in to keep excelling them in the direction they want to go?
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like it's pretty straightforward what we're supposed to be doing, but there's just too much easy access to be a lazy trainer anymore. Like Chat GPT. If you guys think I can't tell.
Yeah, and I get there's a lot of coaches. The market is pretty saturated. So my best advice is, I mean, nowadays you find your coach pretty much on social media. A lot of coaching is
it's our
online.
Business card.
Yeah, it's online, and online coaching is a really powerful way to get the body that you want and get in shape and just achieve whatever you want. My biggest suggestion is go out, find 5 or 6 people. Don't just see someone and say, I want her body or I want his body, so I'm going to be their client, because it doesn't translate that way. Just because someone has the body you want, you might have to hit a point of realization where that's not your body.
You know what's crazy?
That's not your body type in general.
Facts. The majority of the people I work with have told me at one point or another that they don't want to look like me.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't want to look like you.
And I'm like,
I respect it.
And that's what it is. And I'm like, that's great. And I'm glad that you're honest with me and you tell me that, but you're coming to me because you can tell that I know what I'm doing. And that's what matters. I don't want people to come to me because they're like, oh, I want to look like a 5-foot tall bowling ball. That's weird. I didn't even want to look like that. It just kind of happened. But, like, they know that I've put in the education. They know I put in the time. So if somebody says that to me, it's the least offensive thing in the world. It really is. I'm like, awesome. Tell me what you do want to look like. Tell me how you do want to feel. I'm so glad that we covered the base of what you don't. I won't forget. I'm going to keep that in your notes. It's not me. It's that you don't want to be muscular. It's like people take so much offense to things, but the reality of the foundation of that statement isn't that they're telling me I'm ugly or something. They're simply saying, you're a female with a lot of muscle, and I don't want to be a female with a lot of muscle. And I'm okay with that.
That's exactly how I feel. I don't want to be, like, super muscular, but I have this look in mind. But, yeah, I don't take offense for anyone to be like, hey, I don't want to look like you. Okay, let's get you to where you want to be. But just don't think by hiring a coach, you're going to get that body. Mm-hmm. I feel like for me, one of the biggest realizations when I'm in this industry is, trust me, I look at social media, I see these coaches, I see these bikini competitors that I would dream of my body looking like, and then I'm not on steroids, and I don't take steroids. And some of the things they do keep them in that prime condition all year round. And I realize that's something I may never get to experience because I'm not willing to take that extra step. And it has nothing to do with them being on steroids. I am a supporter. I don't care if you take steroids or you don't. But for me personally,
it's your journey.
I had to realize that the look that maybe I really wanted had steroids in it. And that's okay. You know what I mean?
You get to admire it.
That's okay. I can look and be like, wow, these girls are badass and they look amazing, and my body might not ever look like that, but that's okay.
I had to accept that I wasn't going to be 6 foot tall. I still don't think it's okay, but whatever.
You can't really do anything with that. I mean,
speaking of 6 foot tall, did you grow up watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show? Mm. Okay. Have you ever seen a WBFF show?
Yes.
Granted, I think that Federation is made some change-ups. I don't know if it's still called that or whatever, but seeing those women walk across stage with like the wings and the muscles and the thicker frames, I was like, why did I grow up watching VS shows instead of this? How much would have changed for me mentally if I would have seen this at a younger age? Because I'm going to be real. I didn't even know bodybuilding was a sport until I was 23. I thought it was Arnold, and Arnold was bodybuilding. Like, they just made this word up because he built a bunch of muscle. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I am an idiot. Awesome. I love this. Let's dive in.
Shout out, get us into one of those shows. I would love to do one.
WBFF, World Beauty Fitness Fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they are super fun. I've watched that for a long time. Every federation and industry is going to have its own political issues, so we're just going to go ahead and skirt over that. But the idea of muscular women getting the opportunity to present femininity in such a beautiful way. And from what I understand, they do a lot of their own costume design. They have a gown round and they have a suit round. And it's just more kind of like a pageant than what we do, where we kind of walk on one suit, 30 seconds, get out. They have more of like the catwalk. And I have always kind of looked at that and been like, you know, there's something really, really powerful to that boss feminine energy. And the other thing that I like about it is they do like transformation categories. So you really do see a whole spectrum of body types. It's not just one in that show. And so I've really kind of admired that for a while, that side of it anyhow.
Speaking of a catwalk, I did a pole dancing class once.
I didn't expect that at all. What? Okay, continue.
I realized how sexy I am not. And then just thinking about doing, like, because they make you, like, in a pole dance class, you can have heels. And, yeah, it's going to be a few years until I get on that stage and do a catwalk.
I did a pole class, too. I did it in Seattle, and it was a pro bodybuilder leading the class. And
that's awesome.
Oh, she was amazing. That's at Steve Avila's gym. I'm trying to remember the name of it. They're great. But I went and I did it, and she took a video of me, and I felt good until I watched that video, and I'm like, I will never surprise my man.
Yes, ever.
With anything like this.
I remember, yeah, they had us take a video. They're like, you can take a video if you want. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great.
I look like a fish.
Like the sexiest human being ever. And I was like, I'm going to burn this. And no one will ever see this in my life.
Like, what was I doing with my limbs? Like, whatever.
That awkward giraffe really got brought back out.
And it's funny. Like, I went to strip club once when I was younger. I was 21. And I went for a birthday party, of all things. Not my birthday, my uncle's birthday. And it's a Tuesday. I was the only girl in there, and watching this stripper. It's like 2 guys and then like our little group. And because I'm the only girl, I think she kind of targeted me to kind of be like, oh, I'm going to mess with that one. Mm-hmm. And like my boyfriend at the time and my uncle, they like put in money in front of me to try and get her to come mess with me. And I keep like trying to scoot it away. Well, she comes down and she sits right in front of me. And I'm like, I can see your hoo-ha. And she reaches and she grabs my shirt. And I went like this. And I smacked her hands away, and I was like, no. And she's like, what? I was like, you're making me nervous. And she fell on her butt on stage laughing at me. Oh. And I'm like, what in the strip club madness is going on here? But yes, that story, all to say that I could never. I have a lot of respect. I do know some very, very talented artists, essentially, on the pole. I have a friend who lives in Hawaii that runs a pole fitness kind of studio. And I see photos and videos of her all the time doing like really high event parties, and they have her hanging from the ceiling in these ropes, and she goes on the beach and she does hoops, and like the photography and videography around her has been such a cool thing to witness. And I'm like, I remember we both were from Kalispell, Montana, and I remember when she would come into our little gym, Access Fitness, and she'd have her hoops, and everybody's like, what is this crazy chick doing? And nobody respected it. And like she was so talented, and then she goes to Hawaii, and all these, I love that she found a place to be respected in this, as like, and build it into a career, and runs classes and all this stuff. It's just another version of fitness, and it's very feminine. It is very sexy. It is very skill oriented, lots of flexibility. So I'm like ranting about this, but it is something that I actually have so much respect for because there's so much athleticism involved.
It's a great workout. So,
Oh,
bodybuilding and pole dancing. Pole dancing can help, just saying. So,
yeah, but you're like a bag of bricks around the pole.
give it a try. Let us know in the next episode.
Send your videos. I want to see other people's videos. If you guys send yours, I'll show mine.
I can't promise the same.
I won't actually show
can't
it,
promise
guys.
that.
I'm not going to do that.
Send them in for the next episode. But till then, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Tristan.